we got into some of the Industrial Revolution and we started with America's use of factories, the factory system, and things going from being handmade to being made in a factory with machinery. The big name we talked about was interchangeable parts. Just like everything today, interchangeable parts. Once again, if your Chromebook screen breaks, they don't throw the Chromebook away; they replace the screen. If keys break, they replace the keys. They don't throw the Chromebook away. If your parents get a flat tire, they don't scrap the whole car and they get the tire fixed, right? The alternator goes out, whatever it may be, they get the alternator fixed, okay? Unless the car has multiple things wrong with it where they total it, they don't get rid of it. Well, who came up with interchangeable parts? But Eli Whitney. So the first thing he did was actually rifles in the 1790s. He made interchangeable triggers, locks, barrels, every different type of piece on the rifle had to be able to be exchanged out. Well, before they made interchangeable parts, how did you fix stuff? Okay, somebody had to make it by hand and craft it. Well, Eli Whitney changed the game in the sense of he created interchangeable parts. Once again, your cell phone screen breaks. Normally, you don't throw the $1,000 cell phone away. You get a new screen. You got to go to Menor iPhone Repair and they give you a new screen. Okay, so Eli Whitney invented the cotton gin in 1793. What this does is it is going to clean and sort the thorns. You see, there's thorns on cotton if you look here, and there's seeds inside of it. All right, and it's very coarse. His machine is a crank machine. It does the labor of 10 slaves. Okay, what is this going to increase? The demand for more slaves. Slaves were brought from West Africa. Okay, we talked triangular trade in review. We talked transatlantic slave trade. We talked about all these things throughout the course of the class. Okay, so where are they going to grow most of the cotton? Okay, they're going to grow that in the South because it's warm, multiple growing seasons. Okay, his invention. Okay, first things first, the invention of the interchangeable parts with the rifles and then his invention of the cotton gin are going to change America forever. Okay. So these are photographs, obviously. This is not going to be from the actual era that we're even talking about, but I want you to think about slavery. I want you that's why these photographs, this still existed when photography, okay, started to come into play, not in the 1790s, in the early 1800s. Think about being bent over all day picking cotton, coarse cotton with thorns in it, then having to process it in a dangerous warehouse. Okay? Being bent over 12, 14 hours a day with a cruel overseer. So we're getting into, the start of real big business slavery. Slavery was huge up until this point, but the cotton gin is going to send them from tobacco and they're going to switch over to the cotton becomes king. Okay? It's because of Eli Whitney's invention. Okay? The cotton boom. Okay? Cotton's going to take over, whereas tobacco is what made early colonial societies. Even if we talk in Jamestown, right? Jamestown, 1607. By 1620, Jamestown was making $1 million a year off of tobacco. Okay? Native Americans are driven off their land. They need, once again, this is going to be horrible for slaves. It's going to be horrible for Native Americans, indigenous people. They're going to drive them off their land because it's fertile. They need more room to grow more crops, more cotton, more money. Large, huge workforces to do all of the labor. Did they have agriculture mechanicalized yet? Did they have it industrialized yet? No. Do they now? Yes, they do. Okay? So slaves were going to do all the labor. Once again, what's this all stem from? A guy creates a piece of machinery that can comb the thorns and seeds out of the cotton. Eli Whitney's cotton gin. Okay? Obviously, economic impacts. Who's going to start making money? The South's going to start making money. Is America going to start making money? Well, absolutely, as a whole. Okay? the price of a slave is going to increase. So there's going to be a higher demand for slaves being brought from Africa to America. Okay? So it's a huge economic boom for the South and then the North, where a lot of things are processed and shipped to Europe, shipped overseas. Okay? This is a depiction of a slave auction. Folks, I just want you to think about this. They were selling other people. That is the, if you can't think about it, I don't even know how the best way to put it into terms for you, but this right here should capture the inhumane treatment of other human beings as you're looking at a slave auction. Think about that. They're talking about selling other human beings. All right, so expansion of slavery. Now you're going to start expanding into territories. Okay, whose territory are they going to expand into? Whose territory is going to be in the western part of Georgia? Who's going to be in Alabama? Who's going to be in Mississippi? Okay, who's going to be in these southern territories, not even states in the United States of America? Who's going to live there? Native Americans. Okay, 1/3 of the South's population was enslaved Africans. Okay, were there free African Americans? Free blacks? Yes, there were. As soon as they became free, they had to flee to the north. Now you're going to start having slave rebellions. Okay, Nat Turner is going to lead a slave rebellion in Virginia in 1831. They're going to kill 55 men, women, and children. Okay, to set an example, what do you think the slave owners did and the plantation owners did? Okay, they're going to kill everyone involved in the slave revolt as an example and a deterrent to not do that again. Okay, new laws are going to come out of this. Okay, so it's going to be illegal to teach slaves how to read and write. Folks, knowledge is power. If you didn't know knowledge is power, well, that was one of the things that came out of it. If you make it so that people cannot communicate, okay, first off, can they read a book? Can they get ideas from a book? Where do we get a lot of our ideas? You guys get all your ideas from the internet. Where did people get their ideas 2, 3, 4, 500 years ago? Well, they'd read it in a book, or they listened to somebody talk about it. Okay, they got rid of meetings. You couldn't meet. Okay, if we can't meet, we can't organize. Okay, if you were, and the big thing, a big part of Southern culture then, and a part of slave culture then, was they were allowed, and one of the only things that the overseers, the plantation owners, and the slave, even the people who were buying and selling slaves, the only thing they would let slaves do is they could have religious services. They had to be Christians. Okay? At your religious services, who did you have to have present to make sure you weren't organizing to have another slave rebellion? You had to have a white minister. Okay? So then there's other things start happening. They start writing in code. There's all these other different things that spin out of it. But the big thing is they didn't want slaves to know how to read and write, because then they couldn't write letters and communicate. Okay? And then if you have somebody there overseeing every activity they're doing, they can't organize. Obviously, I don't think I can paint a grim enough picture of what life under slavery was. As I said, religious folk songs were a huge part of slavery in the 17 and 1800s in America. Okay? They could sing in the fields. It was something that gave them hope. Religion, God, the Holy Bible, that was another big thing, and it's a large part of Southern culture even still today. Okay? They could have religious services. They could have someone who knew how to read the Bible read it to everybody else. Okay? Obviously, the cruelty of selling families, breaking up families, selling them to other plantations. Okay, you had runaways, and then you had fugitive slaves. I don't really know. I don't have really words to talk about the treatment of slaves, other than it's probably the cruelest thing that's ever happened in perhaps world history. Okay, slave owners and slave auctioneers obviously are going to be the bane of the existence of anybody who's a northerner who's going to want to eventually get rid of slavery as they see it as inhumane. Okay. Friday, you're going to have a quiz on expansion westward. You're going to have a quiz on, we'll talk about John Deere. There will be a quiz video. We're going to talk about innovation. There's a big thunderstorm outside right now. You guys are probably getting it too. We're going to talk about innovation. We're going to talk about industrial revolution. We're going to talk about factory system. We're going to talk about all those different things. There will be a pre-quiz video that is a review. So that's what's going to happen on Friday with the quiz. I'll probably post it for 6 or 7 a.m. It'll be live. Everybody make sure you take it. If you don't, I'll shoot you an email. If there's still people who need to make up last week's quiz, you got to do that. It's a Google form. If you got any questions, shoot me an email. Hang in there. Let me know if you got questions, you need to talk, whatever it may be. Shoot me an email at zebulon.miller@riversideschools.net. Folks, we will continue to move on to how America will split into two distinct parts, regions of a country, north and south. And then obviously we're going to move in towards civil war here towards April, May. Stay safe, keep your social distancing, and hit me with any questions that you have on email.